Hi, Michel Lalonde here. I just want to take a moment to tell you about my new show, the Glen à Garolou. It's a one-man show. It's a musical journey, and it starts out in a little French-speaking village in eastern Ontario called Glen Robertson. That's the Glen part, and that's where I grew up. And Garolou, well, that's the adventure. That's the musical part. So if you know the music of Garolou, well, of course you won't need this introduction. But if you don't, just let me tell you that basically, when the 70s came along, after playing in a lot of rock and roll bands, I got curious about my musical roots, about the music that I grew up in, listening to, that my father used to sing. And that's how it started. So looking back on it, after 6 albums and awards and years of touring, I thought it'd be fun to go back on stage and maybe tell the story and relive some of these moments. Here's a little sample.
Ils ont du foin, puis de la bonne époux du tri. Soir le matin, dis-moi Charles, c'est une bad luck. Dis-moi Charles, je suis bad lucky. Ils ont du foin, puis de la bonne époux des tri. Soir le matin, moi qui suis jeune marié, ils m'en donnent pas tous les matins. Dis-moi Charles, c'est une bad luck.
The story of Garolou started in 1975, so if you're doing the math, it's almost 50 years ago. I was living on Prince Edward Island back then, and my brother came to join me. We played in bands together. And over the summer, we met a couple of really fantastic musicians. And so in September, we got together, and we were lucky enough to hook up with Gene McClellan. And back then, just about nobody had recording equipment. Gene had a little recorder in his summer kitchen, so we spent 3 nights and 3 long days in there having fun and putting a demo together. And then we left for Montreal, and the rest is history.
Ceux qui vous l'ont dit belle l'ont dit, ceux qui vous l'ont dit belle ont dit la vérité, malheur lurette ont dit la vérité, malheur lurette.
So this show is a chance for me to do something I've been meaning to do for a long time. To share the music of Garolou, the way the songs came to me, just with my guitar, and tell the stories behind the songs. And of course, I talk about the 70s because this is when all this happened, and the 70s were a magical period. There's a joke that goes around that often people will say, well, if people talk about the 70s, it's because they weren't really there, because those who were there don't remember. Well, I remember, and there were heady times. And a lot of the story of Garolou has to do with this magical time of the 70s.
Beau dommage que c'était fou, mais personne n'avait peur du loup. Puis ce fut les années 80, la musique de plus en plus loin, et le cœur du pays dormait. Mais demain à un autre jour, chacun son temps, chacun son tour, et le cœur du pays chantait. Octobre sans crise ni automne, harmonie entre les hommes. Jerry chantait comme un coyote pour 6 millions de sans-culottes. Beau dommage que c'était fou, mais personne n'avait peur du loup. Non, personne n'avait peur du loup. Non, personne n'avait peur. Personne n'avait peur du loup.
So this is an invitation, the Glen à Garolou. If you're familiar with the music of Garolou, well, it'll be a chance maybe to learn a few of the stories behind the songs. And if not, well, I hope that'll be a voyage of discovery for you, to hear and discover this music that I loved and fell in love with, and that I still feel passionate about to this very day. The Glen à Garolou.
Quand ils ont vu sur l'échafaud, il a